what happened when I was doing that with trading, I was taking little wins here, managing my risk there. All of a sudden, I hit one and it just freaking took off. All of a sudden, boom, I had a $20,000 trade.
Really?
Yeah, and so then I was able to manage that risk, and or took all that cash, and then was
Do
like,
you remember
finally,
what that was off of? Like if $20,000, what you put in?
I think it was OWCP.
But like, how much did you invest in it? That
Oh
it
yeah, that
returned
was
$20,000?
like $1,700.
Really? Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Barcast, and we're at a different spot. It's not the horse you came in on anymore. It's much warmer here where we're at. We're actually in Tortuga, believe it or not.
Bar Tortuga.
Bar Tortuga, that's right. We're at Bar Tortuga. We're at a pool. There's a pool. I'll show you the pool. It's literally shaped in the shape of a Mickey head. It's unbelievable. It's like a little Disney World away from Disney World. So
It's like a little hidden gem.
yeah.
In Maryland.
We are still in Maryland, so this is the power of networking right here. I mean, we're legitimately at somebody's house, but it looks like we're at a professional bar. It's pretty awesome.
Yep, we're here.
So for that reason alone, because we're sweating our asses off, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content such as this. What this is something that we do every Monday. So if you're tuning in on a Monday, you're probably viewing this for the first time. We're just here talking about our journey in being entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And so I don't even remember where we left off at. Where did we leave off?
Come on. You're talking to the guy with the worst memory in the world.
Well, yeah, second worst here. So I mean, I don't even remember.
I'll tell you what I want to talk about.
That's fine. That'll work.
What's been on my mind lately? What's been on my mind is investing in yourself. Sorry, that was a long pause. By the way, I didn't get an introduction. This is Christian.
I'm sorry.
Cash here.
I'm the worst.
Cash here. Thank you.
So I know I said this like in the beginning weeks ago, but I feel like I probably should continue doing it considering it's actually technically my channel, but you're on it pretty regularly now. But Christian is my business partner with WeTrade HQ, as you can tell here, not cashier.
Yeah, get these on WeTrade HQ.
That's
These
right.
Are
So there's links in the description if you want some shirts that are pertains to trading, or you want some WeTrade HQ shirts. Links are down in the description below. They're actually pretty cool looking.
Yeah, and this is an extra small if you need a size comparison. This is extra small. Medium is also available. No, just kidding. This is a large.
But yeah, they're pretty awesome.
So I was thinking about investing in yourself.
Yeah.
People talk about that. Specifically, I was thinking about how your journey kind of led to entrepreneurship and what you do to kind of continue to learn and invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Specifically, I mean, you obviously did that with learning penny stocks, and then you also do that with your business. But how does that look for you, and how important is that to you? Don't give me BS though.
No. So for me, and I've told people this all the time, like I could trade and just trade and be comfortable with that. But really what kind of gets me up every morning is being able to make somebody's day. And so when I get deep into, the morning mentorship with my folks that are in there, and, I just had this happen. So somebody tagged me on Instagram. They were able to buy season tickets to the Colts next year because of the side money they were making through trading and through my mentorship. And like, that was freaking awesome. And so when I get stories like that all the time, how I'm able to make an impact in somebody else's life, I mean, that's the ultimate for me. So like, I could just sit here and just do things on my own and just trade and probably be comfortable and be happy. But to me, there's a couple of things. It's being able to make that impact, and it's also, chasing I don't know how to really explain it. Chasing the dream, I guess. I went to school for business because of something that I was passionate about. So being able to build something from the ground up and have it be some big giant, and it doesn't even have to be like a $1 billion company or anything like that, but something that I built from the ground up and like what is a good, sustainable business that's making positive impacts in people's lives. Like, that's a really awesome thing to do, and it's just, I don't know, gives me purpose.
Yeah.
like-
So I know a little bit of, I know your backstory and kind of how you ended up quitting your job. I don't know how many people know it. I mean, if they follow your YouTube channel, I'm sure they have some awareness. But your story is interesting because I don't know if you could say you would be where you were if you hadn't invested in yourself in the point of like getting better, developing.
Right.
So talk a little bit about how you decided to learn how to do penny stocks, and at what point I mean, the ROI was being able to quit your job. So at what point did you realize like, hey, the value I'm getting is allowing me to now quit my job?
I don't know. So I probably could have quit my job a lot sooner than I did. But it was probably like, it was just the fear of being able to take that jump. But I really started getting into investing when I went back to school. So like I worked from job to job to job and wasn't really getting anywhere, wasn't happy. And so I was like, well, maybe if I go back to school, I can get a better job and be more happy and be more fulfilled. So I went back to school and I actually got a really decent job. And I still wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And so I realized eventually that it was like, maybe I'm just not meant to work in a structured 9 to 5, work your ass off for somebody else kind of thing. And so I was like, all right, how can I work at something to be able to, just basically work for myself and be able to have the freedoms that I have now. And so when I was in school, on the financial side of things, I really started to get into investing and in stocks and stuff like that.
Was that through a class or was that just
so
personally?
like I took a class actually at Carroll. So it started there when I was at Carroll with you, not in your class in particular, but and we played this stock game, and like I've always kind of been interested in stocks and how they work and all of that, but that's really kind of what really sparked everything for me. And then I knew a close friend of mine and my family's that was a day trader for a living. He's a millionaire already. And so what better person to go to try to learn how to trade stocks than somebody who's already been doing it for 2 decades.
So you take this class and it's like paper trading?
Yeah.
And you did well?
Yeah.
And so then after the semester's over, you're like, hey, I know this guy and maybe I'll try this,
and
take a shot at it?
Actually, it was really in the middle of that class when I reached out to him, because I was like, hey, listen, I know, and I was trying to do some projects and stuff like that, write some papers in that class. And I said, hey, listen, I want to know if you can help me with my class. And so he's like, yeah, sure. Well, then it just kind of developed into real world situation. I was like, listen, I think I probably could do this in real life. He's like, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to help you. And so that's kind of like what started it all. And
so then how did that start? So he says he's happy to help you. Are you meeting him in person?
Yep. So I went and met him for lunch one day. I remember exactly where I was. I was at the Cheesecake Factory in Towson, and I met him there, and we just talked for, it was probably about 2.5 hours, and I was just like picking his brain on like how he's able to get to where he's at. And the more I talked to him, the more excited I was getting, the more passionate I started to feel about this being a real thing.
So would you say from the jump you felt confident that this could be, how big did you think it could be for you?
I don't think it could have ever been to the level that I'm at right now. I mean, it was just like, let's see what happens.
So you felt like you could make some money?
Yeah, but I didn't think it was like I could quit my job and make some money.
Okay. So you start learning, and then how long until, like, how'd the beginning go? Were there any growing pains? Like, I know a lot of people talk about there's many people who just lose their first account and then they...
Oh yeah, I lost my first account. I lost my account twice.
Really? I don't think many
twice.
people know that.
Yeah, I blew it up twice.
So what does that mean, blowing it up? I need some details.
So so what my mentor was able to help me with was that, he would say, hey, listen, this looks like a good stock to get into. And then he would explain his reasoning why. And then he would be like, you may want to consider taking a shot at this. But he would never tell me to sell it. He would be like, he would just feed me one and say, hey, listen, take a look at this one, see how I'm finding value in it, and then make your own decision. And then once you do, you're on your own. So I would buy into something, and I would just sit in it forever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I got $3,000. And I was like, I'm out of 1,000. I just threw all $1,000 that I had to start off with into one position, and then it tripled or doubled rather. And I was like, man, this is the one that's going to really set me off. And then I wake up the next morning and it's just
Gone.
basically back down to zero. And I was like, this sucks. And then he's like, listen, you gotta, basically it's just like paying tuition to the market, and that's what a lot of people call it, is taking losses like that. But it was a hard lesson learned. And then the second time I did it, I did almost the exact same thing. I didn't quite take it all the way back down to zero, but I started off with $1,000 again. Tried to split it up as best I could, but I think for me, it was just getting into that habit of taking profits early. And the hard thing to wrap my head around was, and it's still hard for a lot of people, even for me sometimes, and I try to beat it into everybody's head, but it's really tough. It's super tough. It's really up there with, that gambling mindset. And I don't ever want to call stock trading gambling.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do, but it's not really like that. You got to actually go and do some homework and do some, investigating and really dig in deep into a position before you take a shot at it. And obviously there's risk, and there's a certain amount of luck that goes along with it. But managing the risk is ultimately how you win. And if you can't learn how to take losses early, and you can't figure out how to take profits when they're given to you, you're going to lose every time.
I think the coolest thing that I noticed was you showed me that website. It was like the profit tracker.
Yeah, on WeTrade, yeah.
And no, it wasn't the leaderboard.
Profitly. Yeah.
And so what was it, Profitly?
Yeah.
So like when we looked at that, and you could see traders.
Profitly.
What?
No, they're just a competitor now, but.
Do you want to edit that out?
No, it's fine.
Well, the thing about so when you showed me that, the thing that clicked with me, because you always said, good traders, they are like 50% successful.
Yeah, so that's just it too. So my mentor, I Like Baby Stock, he's a millionaire trader. Makes hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, but his trades, he wins 50% of the time. But he's able to manage the risk,
Yeah.
and that's the key to everything.
And when you look at successful traders, the eye-opening thing for me was that they were winning and losing, but their losses were small.
Right.
And their wins were big, like much, like exponentially bigger.
Yeah.
So you'd see losses that were minuscule compared to how big their wins were.
Yep.
And even if they were less than 50%, say 48, 47%, their wins were just so far greater. And that was really eye-opening. And to me, to realize, like, yeah, the strategy for getting out for gains is important, but it almost seems like it's just as important, if not more important, to understand to manage your risk if you lose on a stock.
It's more important. I would say it's way more important to protect your capital, because that's the only way that you're going to make money. If you can't protect that and you're constantly losing it, you're eventually just going to run out, and then you have no opportunities to win.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people that start off trading get their head wrapped around the fact that the one that they're in is the one that's going to change their life. It's the one that's going to set them off, and they can retire off of this one trade, and it just never happens that way. And it's like every day there's a new trade to be made. Every day there's money out there that you can be making. And if you're stuck in something because you held on to it too long, or you didn't take profits when they were given to you, then you're never going to get ahead.
You damn dummy. Of course.
You're never going to get ahead.
So then let's go back to your story where you're saying, you lost money, you lost your first account, re-up your second account.
Blew it to pieces.
Almost.
I was so mad.
Lost all of it. What was your mindset like between when you lost your first account? Was your confidence still high because you had seen wins, or was there any second guessing?
No, my confidence, it was in the toilet.
Yeah?
Yeah, because then I was like, I went like weeks without even making a trade, because I was like, I don't want to freaking lose, And I still get like that sometimes. So if I lose 2 or 3 trades in a row, I'm like, I got to take a step back and figure out. And that's the other thing too. Somebody actually asked me that today. They were like, listen, is there days when you just won't make a trade because your mind's not right. And like, absolutely, you have to be focused. There's no way around it. There's no way you can just sit here and click buttons and make money all day.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. You got to get up at a decent time of the day. Not only because, you know, everything's, you know, the market opens, the pre-market hours is 4:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm not saying anybody has to be up that early, but you know, you got to be up at a decent time to prepare for when the market opens. You're making make some decisions on, you know, whether or not you're going to day trade something or whatever. But I think it's also important just to make sure that you're up early enough so that you're awake. If you're just climbing out of bed, you're not all there with it. You know, you're going to have a tough time. So getting up at a decent time, actually getting some breakfast and coffee in you, whatever, so that you're ready for the day, I think is super important.
So then when did it click for you? Was there a specific moment where it made sense, or was it just the repetitions? Like you just got reps in and you ended up
Yeah, I would
out?
say it's probably repetitions. And actually, I probably could equate it to like YouTube. And it sounds kind of funny, but like, you know, I'm on this YouTube channel and I'm grinding it out every day, and I'm taking little wins here, little wins there, or I take lessons from, you know, maybe a poor video and learn from that one. And what happened when I was doing that with trading, I was taking little wins here, managing my risk there. All of a sudden, I hit one and it just freaking took off. All of a sudden, boom, I had a $20,000 trade.
Really?
Yeah, and so then I was able to manage that risk, and or took all that cash, and then was
Do
like,
you remember
finally,
what that was off of? Like if $20,000, what you put in?
I think it was OWCP.
But like how much did you invest in it? That
Oh
it
yeah, that
returned
was
$20,000?
like $1,700.
Really? Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah,
And so
but that's just, I mean, that's penny stocks too. I mean, like
Yeah.
you're not going to see that trading Apple, but
yeah.
it was pretty wild.
And so then you're like riding high,
Yeah,
which could potentially be a bad thing.
it's super. So if that happened day one,
You'd have been
I'd have lost all of it. I would have lost all of it. And I've seen that. I've seen that with a lot of people that come and go. It's like they come in and it's like, I've seen that from one person. He did it. He just could never learn. And when I look at that, people are like, well, maybe trading's just not for everybody. And I don't think that that's a very good, I don't know, sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe penny stocks wasn't good for trading for that person. Maybe, you know, trading something that's a little bit more stable, something that maybe has long-term growth potential or what have you, that isn't quite as volatile, maybe that's for that person. Because I saw this person trade, he had 5-figure wins all over the place and could never sell. I mean, he was up $17,000, $25,000, $13,000, didn't sell a dime of any of those positions, and then ended up selling for a loss because he just couldn't take it.
Wow. What's his name?
There's people that are probably watching
is
that don't
good.
know who he is, but like, no, because we just kept like trying to shake him. We're like, dude, just freaking take it. Like, what's wrong with you? You
Yeah.
know what you could buy with 20 grand? You know, I mean, that's, to some people, that's almost their whole year's salary. So it's like,
That's it. I think that's business in general as well. People want this get rich quick thing, and yeah, there are anomalies that people hit the lottery, but most of the time it's just building it brick by brick, and unfortunately you only see the end result, but like
Yeah.
you don't see all the other work that goes into it and all the time I'm sure that you spent learning and, you know, learning from your mistakes,
Yeah.
speaking to your mentor, like doing your due diligence on the back end. Like you don't see all of that.
yeah, I think that, you know, everybody looks at people who are successful and think that that just happened to them overnight.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that that actually happens. It's like, no, I've been around for 10 years. You know, it's like, it takes work.
So then you get this big win, and did you see consistent success, or did you have sort of a false confidence that
At first, it was a little bit of a false confidence. I still ended up losing some of that.
you're like, I cracked the code, I got it?
Yeah. And so you give yourself a little bit more confidence, and then you start to get overconfident. And so then you start taking larger position sizes, and then it's like, oh shit, I can't do that. You know, I got to be able to back it off. Because I think what the advantage of you having more money is, and not being overconfident, is that you get to manage that risk even better. Because now, let's just say you got a $20,000 pot. Now you can still take the same position sizes and diversify even more.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so that's where I think that you can really let that snowball, instead of just trying to take the 20 grand you won with and putting it into just one freaking position, especially in penny stocks. Like, it's so volatile. You don't know if it's gonna go or not. You can do everything you can do to
So
make
rather
sure.
than larger positions, it was just more positions.
Yeah, I
keeping
mean,
the same strategy.
and that's how I've been able to find success. Everybody finds it differently, but being able to diversify my account is what's allowed me to grow it to where it's at today.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's good. That's interesting because just kind of giving you. We haven't really talked about my experience, but when I started with WeTrade HQ, I was like, I want to learn just to understand what the business is about.
Yeah, and you've been hanging in the mentorship a lot lately
Yeah,
too.
and I've really enjoyed the process. But I remember when I started my first account, you had reached out to me because I remember I had NSPX, and I had like 8 positions, but one was NSPX, and you were like, "Yeah, man, NSPX jumped up. Like, did you get out?" And I was like, "No." And NSPX, I ended up losing.
I said you might want to. I said just take some profit while you got it, and you're like, yeah, I'm good.
But I also was taking really, really small positions,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. I didn't really have a strategy, but I didn't know at the time how common it was for people to lose their first account. And I really like what you said about the tuition. It's the tuition you pay. Not that you have to lose money or you need to be stupid about it,
Right.
but when you look at it from that perspective, it's really an education you're getting. And if fortunately, I'm still on the initial investment I've used. I'm down, but like I haven't had to start a new account. That is money that, school costs 10, 15 grand a year,
Yep.
potentially. If you're losing 1,000 or 1,500, but you're getting better, that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize, and they look at it as like, if they lose their first account, I'm screwed.
Yeah, and I get that all the time when people are like, oh, I can't. So the thing that drives me crazy, okay, like people come to me, they'll be, oh, well, if you're so good at trading, why aren't you giving it away for free? And there's a lot of reasons why I don't do that. First of all, we provide a ton for free.
Yeah.
Second of all, the reason why I charge for the mentorship,
So people have skin in the game?
well, it's that, and you weed out everybody who's not serious about it.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
And of course, we use the revenue to help support WeTrade HQ, the platform. I mean, we really still haven't consistently paid ourselves through what we've made through WeTrade HQ, but it's to build the platform to get it to get to more people to help them out. And so, yeah, it's really like you were saying, put more skin in the game, but also if you're serious about something, you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're serious about getting your education. You're willing to go to a higher price school because you think that they're going to provide you with some more value than maybe another school will. It's the same thing. And honestly, we charge $50 a month. I mean, if you can't afford $50 a month, you ain't got no business trading.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I tell people, because they're in anybody's mentorship for a month or two, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm out. I'm not getting it." And it's like, it took me 5 years to get to a point to where I could, when I started trading, to 5 years to really be able to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to be able to cut that in half. That's still 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's not a 1-2 month thing where it's like you're automatically a pro trader because I've taught you all this stuff in no time. It's not. It doesn't work that way. And that's what I tried my damnedest not to promote myself that way at all.
So given everything we talked about, you've kind of alluded to a couple things, but I want you to directly say, what do you think the 2 or 3 most important pieces of seeing success as you go through the journey of learning how to invest, specifically penny stocks?
Yeah.
What do you think the 2 or 3 most important keys are that you learned that you think are important for new investors like myself?
Yeah, so I think that the first one would be managing risk, protecting your initial investment. I feel like I say it every single day, to protect your initial investment. I mean, every day I'm like, guys, make sure you're managing your risk properly. So protecting that initial investment or protecting your capital is number one priority, always. And then taking profits when they're given to you so that you can use that to continue to build off of. And number 3, I would say, don't be afraid to, not take a trade. Don't feel like you have to force one just because the market's open. One thing that I run into a lot, and I do this myself, sometimes when I'm getting bored and I just want to make a trade, I usually do it, and that forces me to step outside of my own disciplines because I just want to make a trade and then I end up losing. So that would probably be number 3, is just not to force trades and let it happen as you become more confident.
And it feels like kind of along, you allude to this a lot, but along those lines, in which you've alluded to in this conversation, is like kind of the patience with the process. When you said, you know, it took you 5 years and it could take 2.5 years. Yeah. You know, the process in anything is really, really important, it seems like, and to sort of take it step by step and not to get greedy or not to want to mash the gas.
There's a lot of people out there that like think that this is something that you can just get just like that overnight. You're going to be able to buy all the supercars and mansions that you want. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, all the flamingo t-shirts you can get.
Listen, I'm digging this shirt right now.
That's good stuff. I think we need to have, I'm really interested in talking about the next piece being like you actually quitting your job and you sort of making enough money to do that and taking that leap.
We can do that. I'm good with that. But you're going to have to wait till next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much. If you like this video, Christian actually made it all about me for once.
That's like a backhanded compliment.
But anyways, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, I certainly would appreciate a thumbs up. And that's it for me. As always, I'll see you all before the bell. And B. Smith is out.